Okay, so let's get started on another session, and today we're going to talk about the work order definition and some advanced features within it. So we'll start by taking a look at a work order, and you notice that this work order has some criteria that is showing that some steps have been started and completed, or not actually completed, but we received information saying that some of this has been completed, 6 out of 10. So I'm going to switch to another one that doesn't have any percentage completion over here. So I'm just going to pick, like, for instance, this work order 1004. So as I've shown you in other recordings, there's information over here to the right when it comes to the work order details. Now, these are the operations. So now, within each one of these, you'll have to start getting into some more sophisticated areas, and it could be simple, could be sophisticated, but let's just talk about this here. So the resources, and then the assigned resources. So these are key to getting a good schedule. So this is the area that we want to get the information from the team as to how they're going to schedule or how they want to schedule people and machines on the floor. It can be very sophisticated, but it also can be very simple, all right? So let's just show you some of the options here. So if I were to double click on this, you notice that a list of the resources that are required, again, to do that one operation, all right? So within that, in this case, I've already chosen the saw operators and saw. So those are my groups, all right? So if I were to hit this caret, there are 2 operators, and Joe, and he's on shift 1 and Joan on shift 2. That designation means nothing other than it's to help me understand whether or not Joe works in first or second shift. All right. So, and of course the saw, and you see the saws here. Now, typically saws are available 24 hours. All right. They're your machines. Now, if it is down for maintenance, you'll do calendar exceptions to control that. But let's worry about this for now. So within these areas, there are a number of choices. All right, so I've just kind of collapsed that. If I wanted to add another resource, and it's unlimited as to how many resources. Let's just say I want to include tooling. All right, if I have a specific tool that's required, you could also do that. When it does that, it shows you whether or not, or it asks you whether or not you want to have it as set up at the run, tear down, etc. All right. So, and then you notice that there's an option here to do chaining. Now, the chaining is important only for, like, for instance, these labor-oriented folks here as well. Because what that'll do if I turn that on, and it is a choice. Sometimes people don't want to have it going across shifts, all right? So in this case, we do. If I did want to do that, of course, it's going to assign Joe, as long as he's available, depending on the time of day to get started, or Joan, because she's on shift 2, and she starts at, let's say, 5 o'clock, all right? And then from there, it will go back and forth to who's available. And again, of course, that's what finite scheduling is all about. It knows the availability of all these folks. And of course, then I have the capability of doing a setup or run characteristics. The usage percentage is important too, because if I take for instance, Joe here, all right, if I use Joe, what I might do is say, hey, Joe can manage 2 machines, all right? So I might actually say, use 2 machines for this operation, all right? So, of course, that might make it, and the tooling will not necessarily be a doable one in this case here, but of course you have the options to do that, all right? All right. So, so that would be the definition. Of course, I could change this characteristic too as well, the setup area too as well. So let's cancel that one, and let's go to one that has some more sophisticated characteristics, like this one here. And let's just pick on the second operation here, all right? And just click on it. You'll notice that we're starting to get in some interesting things here too as well. Again, operator, machines, but if you notice in this case, I've got a lock on the machines. So I'm saying in this case here, when I say a lock here, it's going to look for availability of either on machine 1 or machine 3. ignores machine 2. So I've told it for this particular work order in this operation that only use machine 1 and 3. For whatever reason that is, it might be a size, it might be a compliance issue, but that's something you can adjust and change to as well. All right, I'm going to show you another example. Okay, sorry, come to the next area now too. But this is an example that I wanted to talk to you about too as well. So in this case here, I'm going to double click on this. And here is an interesting situation where I have a setup person that comes in, sets it up, all right, and it could be that it's a long period of time, it could be a short period, whatever the time period is, but I have a specialist that comes in and does that. Then my operator takes over after the specialist, the setup is done, and you notice that it's saying that. So the setup specialist is here for just setup only, not the run, okay, but the machine operator is here for the run. And then, of course, the machine that's required. So I've got 3 resources required, again, in one operation. I don't have to have separate operations. I have one operation managing the entire operations that are necessary to do this operation, okay? All right. So there's some nuances and information in here, that is probably starting to get into a fairly sophisticated usage of the software, but understand this, once these kind of things are set up, the scheduling becomes easy and it becomes more accurate. It is something that acts more like the way you probably want to schedule in the first place. All right, so hopefully this helps you understand how you define an operation and how certain resources are set up. And of course, I didn't show you this too as well. Once it does go through the scheduling characteristic, it actually shows you what's been assigned. You notice here, I've got the machine 1 being used. So then I've got a tool required. Jason starts off at shift 1, and then Jack comes in at shift 2. All right, so it shows you the assignees, and of course that would be back over in the work log area where it shows who should be doing what on each day. All right, so I think that probably covers enough of what I want to cover on the sophisticated or advanced areas of the software as far as defining an operation resource requirements. Thank you. Talk soon.